my area of research, my primary area of research, which is HCI, and I plan to use that to go into the industry as a user experience researcher. So I'm just passionate about building, using empathy to build products that people would like. So I feel like I'd like to talk to people, kind of get an understanding of what they would want, and take that knowledge and put it into practice and actually apply and develop applications that people would like and can help a lot of people solve a lot of problems. So I feel like that's what I'm most passionate about, finding ways to help people but using tech to do that.
So hi, Uju. It's so nice to chat with you today. I believe we connected about a year ago, but we didn't actually get an opportunity to speak till about 2020. So it's great to talk to you today. Uju is currently completing a PhD in computer science at the University of North Texas, and some of your research areas cover human-computer interaction, machine learning, software engineering, and NLP. So it's great to have you here. You look fantastic, of course.
Thank you. You too.
I guess would love to really hear like what sort of sparked that interest in technology. What was that sort of first moment where you decided that you wanted to pursue perhaps even just your undergrad in computer science, software engineering?
All right. So my journey into tech or computer science wasn't a conventional one. I initially went into my undergraduate degree to study. I wanted to study medicine, but in my university back then they didn't admit people into the medical program straight away. So I was admitted into the pharmacy program, but I knew that that wasn't something I was passionate about. So I spoke to my dad about it, and he looked through the different programs in my university that they were offering, and he was like, okay, I see this course. It's called software engineering. You're smart, so I know you can handle it, and I know that this is the direction the world is going in. So I feel like that would be a good program or degree for you to pursue. So I took his advice for it, and I took his advice and I enrolled into that program. So my first semester I kind of struggled a bit because I didn't have prior programming experience. So I struggled a bit in the first semester, but I'm not a quitter, so I didn't quit. So I went home for the holidays, and I went into this, I had an internship at this tech company, and in that company I was able to work with software engineers. I was able to gain like hands-on experience with developing applications, and I feel like that was what made the switch for me, or that was when it clicked for me. And I was like, wow, this is a really interesting field. Like, you can basically do anything, you can create anything using programs. So I feel like that getting a practical experience and kind of seeing all the possibilities that you can, all the possible things you can do using technology or using programs, that actually was what made me interested. And then when I went back the next semester, because I had experience, my programming improved, and I became so much better. And the better you are at something, the more interested you become. So I became really interested. I would program sometimes from like midnight to like morning, and I like really enjoyed it. So I feel like that was just getting the practical experience, and then it just made my programming skills improve a lot. And I just literally, I skyrocketed from there, and I actually graduated the best in my class. So it's kind of like a, yeah, it's a funny story going from struggling to being the best. So yeah,
that's a great story. So it sounds like the turning point for you was basically being able to see, not just be surrounded by people that could obviously pull you up and help develop your software engineering skills, but also be able to see the impact of what you could actually create. So moving from just coding in silos and in an abstract sense to actually saying, I can build something that can change my world and then potentially change the world as well. So how did you go from just that to then saying, actually, I'm not just going to go and get a job, I'm actually going to do a PhD? What was that turning point like?
Yeah, so there are actually a lot of factors involved in that decision. So basically, in tech, right, it's like the whole tech world or field is always evolving. So you always have to keep learning. So I kind of knew that if I wanted to have a fair chance, or if I wanted to be uh, um, a good candidate, I had to get a little bit more. I had to go a little bit further. So I decided to go back to get a graduate degree, but a master's in computer science. And I chose computer science and not software engineering, which was my background, because I kind of wanted to diversify my skills a little bit, because software engineering, my skills were primarily just software development or development of applications. So I wanted to diversify my skills a little bit, because computer science is a more diverse field. So I wanted to go back to get a graduate, a master's in computer science. And then I took the GRE, I applied to my university and other universities as well. And then a professor contacted me and was like, oh, hey, I saw you apply to this school for master's. Your background is software engineering and your GRE scores was really good and your CGPA was really good as well. I would like it if you could switch over to the PhD degree, and then you'll be funded, you get a full funding. Yeah, so that was great. I mean, I was like, and I always wanted to get a PhD, but I was going to get my master's, work in the industry first for some time and then go back. But I felt like this was a good opportunity and it would be good to take. And I also spoke with my dad as well, as usual. And I was like, yes, go for it. So, I mean, that's how I found myself in the computer science PhD, pursuing a PhD in computer science. And I feel like I actually made a good decision, because I feel like it's a great fit for my skills and also my personality.
Fantastic. So who do you think, what ideas or books, authors or people have been the most influential in your journey so far?
All right. So like I said earlier, they're not back then, coming up in the tech field, there were not a lot of women, I would say, but or also men that I could relate to in the tech field. So I didn't really have that many influences from the tech field, people from the tech field. But my family members were a huge influence in my life, and other women that are doing great things in their field as well, like Oprah, Michelle Obama, Tracy Ellis Ross. Like I just like very strong, powerful women that are just killing it in their field. So I'll say that they served as motivation to me, and then my family members also helped support me. So I feel like those are the kind of the biggest influences I had coming up in the tech field.
So what do you wish someone would have told you 5 to 10 years ago that you would have really appreciated understanding now where you are?
Okay, I feel like I have a lot of, there are a lot of lessons I've learned along the way. So I would say just trying to be very intentional about everything you do, because like whatever you do now, you're going to reap the benefits in future. So for instance, right now in the PhD program that I'm in, I wish I had started doing a lot of research right away, publishing papers, but I kind of, I just started doing that more so right now, but I wish that I know I would have been further along if I had started like 2 years ago. So I would say be very intentional if you want to go into the whole PhD or just the computer science field in general. It's a very competitive field because there are a lot of people and they're constantly learning. So I'll say be very intentional. Always try to improve yourself. Try to be at the top of your game, basically, if you want a good job or if you want to like actually reap the benefits later. So yeah, just be intentional about everything, put in the work, but also still have fun and don't beat yourself up too much about anything, because at the end of the day, like whatever is meant to be is meant to be. So
Absolutely. I mean, I can definitely attest to what you're saying, working in executive search, that publications and research papers sometimes are used as proxies to sort of understand the curiosity of the candidate and see if they've discovered anything unique in their approach to research and just demonstrate interest as well in the field. So I definitely can see where, you know, that synergy and skill would be valuable. So what kind of sort of jobs are you hoping to go into? Because your areas of research are quite vast. I know human-computer interaction is quite a broad field in and of itself. So what are you most passionate about from a working perspective? How are you hoping to apply your extensive knowledge and research in that area?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like you said, I have very different, or I have like very different skills that can be applied in different parts of tech. So I'll say the one I'm most passionate about is my area of research, my primary area of research, which is HCI, and I plan to use that to go into the industry as a user experience researcher. So I'm just passionate about building, using empathy to build products that people would like. So I feel like I'd like to talk to people, kind of get an understanding of what they would want, and take that knowledge and put it into practice and actually apply and develop applications that people would like and can help a lot of people solve a lot of problems. So I feel like that's what I'm most passionate about, finding ways to help people but using tech to do that.
That's very interesting. There's a book by a lady called Laura Keane, and she's the author of a book called UX Lean Startup, and she talks about sort of delighting and connecting with the user or consumer to create products that people really fall in love with and use. So in what you just described, do you feel like it's something that can only truly be applied to very large businesses? Because it's very easy to see how that translates in a very large business like a Google or a Facebook. Or do you think that there can be a bridge from your perspective of how smaller, more nimble, startup-ish type of organizations can also utilize a lot of your work, research, and ideas, really?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like tech in general, especially right now, it's kind of involved or incorporated into various fields, even fields that weren't incorporating tech before. So right now, from e-commerce to healthcare to entertainment to education, like all of these pillars or all of these industries all incorporate tech. So I feel like no, tech is not just going to be, or tech should not just be incorporated or used in like the more established or bigger industries. It can also be used in simpler industries, like something as simple as transportation that people use, or even housing. I feel like, yeah, you can definitely incorporate tech into any industry at all. It doesn't have to be like a big one. It can just be like little as well.
So one of your research areas as well as HCI is NLP, for example, and that's obviously has tremendous growth potential and it's exploding in the AI world at the moment. But oftentimes we usually see it applied to sort of customer service type of organizations, trawling through customer complaints or data. And what are other interesting ways that people may not have thought of from a commercial or even non-commercial perspective that you think NLP can be applied and you see potential for the future?
Yeah, so like you said, true. In the beginning, NLP was mostly applied to customer service applications. I actually also worked on an application in my in my last internship where I built a customer service chatbot using NLP. So yeah, that's more of the common use of NLP. But I know that the NLP is also used for your intelligent agents like Alexa or Siri. That's also another common one. Personally, I plan to incorporate NLP into my own research, which is primarily HCI. So how I plan to do that is, my current research involves creating an accessible programming environment for people who are visually impaired. So right now we are using this block-based programming environment to teach people who cannot see how to program. But a way we're incorporating accessibility into that is through the use of screen readers. So screen readers also incorporate NLP as they take text and convert it to speech. But my own personal contribution to that is I'm trying to create a feature that converts speech to text. So if someone has a disability and they cannot really see the screen, or they cannot like navigate using the keyboard, they can also use their speech. So they can say something like place block in workspace, or place if block in workspace. So based on their speech, that would be converted to text, and it will be applied to the application, and then their action will be performed. So that is, I feel like that is also a way that NLP can be incorporated, which is not, it is being done now, but not as much as the regular customer service application. So yes, that's the way I feel like NLP can also be incorporated, and also how I plan to incorporate it into my own research.
Fantastic. And as we're talking about HCI, you mentioned empathy right at the start and trying to incorporate that into what you're doing. And I was thinking, what about human robotic interaction? What are your thoughts there in terms of how that develops and robots become sort of not just robots in the sense of, you know, I can see a physical robot or something, just Alexa in and of itself is, you know,
a robot, yeah.
Yeah, in that sort of sense. But, you know, I read a research paper recently that mentioned that people that have exchange and chit chat over things like text, messaging, emails can actually build really strong, intimate relationships just by doing that without actually seeing face to face, or in comparison to people that actually see each other face to face. And it was really trying to delve into how you can develop empathy and an emotional connection potentially with robots, and talking about how that human robotic world could potentially evolve. So, I mean, it's kind of out there, but do you think we can become best friends with robots?
Actually, there are actually quite a number of, I feel like there are a lot of, well, I say there are a lot of competitions, or there are a lot of hackathons out there that are trying to create a model of robots that are very intelligent. So I feel like as the years go by, the intelligence of the robots that are being created is increasing. So I feel like definitely, I mean, not on the robot's part, but on the human part, definitely I feel like it is possible to create an emotional relationship with a robot. And actually, there are actually robots that serve as, will I say, like a guide, not really guide, but companions. They're robots, like if I would look for the link and send to you, but they're actually robots in forms of teddy bears or human beings that actually serve as companions to people who have some mental disorders. And I feel like, yeah, those robots definitely provide emotional support to the people that they're helping. So definitely, just by looking at that alone, you can see that on the part of from the robot to the human, or on the human end, they're receiving emotional support and they're forming relationships with that robot. And definitely, just by looking at that, you can see that definitely, even in the future, the more the algorithm or the models are refined, the more intelligent these robots will become, and the greater or the stronger the connection they will form with the people that they're relating with. Yeah.
Should we be concerned, or should we embrace?
I don't know. There's also another article that says in a couple of years the robots are gonna take over the world, right? So I mean, I really don't know. I for now I'll say no, because the benefits outweigh the possible cons of using robots. So I'll say for now, I'll say no, but obviously we should just pay attention. But at the same time, if a human being can create a robot, they can also, everything is code, right? So they can also deactivate or stop it from causing any serious problems. So I don't feel like we should be concerned about people.
Like, this is where the whole, teaching ethics, when we're teaching people data science, artificial intelligence, that should be embedded into the core of how we're thinking when we're developing these systems. And I feel like every time people have talked about, I mean, most times that people have talked about technology and humans throughout history and this whole takeover situation, what's ended up happening is not so much a replacement, but more like a complementary support. So it's almost like the technology helps us advance, it helps us innovate, but it doesn't completely take over or completely replace necessarily. It's, for example, we have auto ML now, and some people are like, oh, are we going to get rid of data scientists? No, well, actually we find that a real true seasoned data scientist has exceptional sort of exceptional depth of knowledge in that specific field. And so their ability to do feature engineering will potentially be better than a machine that's automated. So I feel like when people say it's going to take over, really and truly, we've always had more of that complementary relationship. So hopefully it stays that way, but I still feel it's important that we think about the potential dangers and the ethics.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on the subject of building, and just back to what you were talking about, the teddy bear providing emotional support, especially at a time of COVID-19, I did think, people that are older that would normally have carers check up on them, how would that have happened? But if you did have technology like what you described, you can see how you can make that leap more successfully. So back to building and COVID, there is a venture capitalist firm, Andreessen Horowitz, who recently wrote an essay called It's Time to Build, where he identifies 3 key areas that entrepreneurs should start thinking of more in terms of developing ideas, which was housing, education, and healthcare. And I think, it's interesting that, over the last 10, 15 years, we've had a lot of apps that focus on attention, like Facebooks and the TikToks, etc. And then they monetize our attention, and trying to shift that more to things that really impact us from an economic perspective. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with those 3 pillars? And where can we make the most impact quickly in creating tech that will help and not just be entertaining?
True. I definitely agree with those 3 pillars. I agree with the housing one, but I mean, not as much as obviously education and healthcare, because healthcare right now, like, that's basically what everyone is looking to now to kind of save the world. So I feel like the whole biotech field is actually pretty important. Also, education is also pretty important. So I definitely agree that a lot of a lot of effort needs to be put into these 2 fields or industries. And then the housing, I agree, but the only thing is I also saw during the whole COVID, a lot of Airbnbs were empty. So I feel like it's important, but it wasn't really as essential as these other 2 pillars. So I agree. And then also I feel like another important pillar or area to focus on would be entertainment. But like you said, they kind of take the data, and it doesn't have as much impact as the other 3. But I feel like it's also quite important, because imagine being in lockdown or not having like Netflix, or having like Instagram or like Facebook or even a TikTok. I feel like TikTok was like a sensation during this whole COVID. I mean, everything doesn't have to have an economical impact. It could just be more emotional, or just for like fun. I mean, entertainment, just to keep you safe.
Right. For people, it was yesterday that I read that Facebook had an opportunity to buy TikTok, I think in 2016, and it didn't happen. And ByteDance, I think, a Chinese company, ended up purchasing them. But now TikTok is trying to get more mature customers on their platform, because obviously they're thinking about monetization and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see how that develops and what TikTok actually becomes.
Yeah, I'm actually quite interested to see how they're going to monetize, because I don't know if they're already doing that. Maybe they have ads, probably. Um,
I think the person that owns the account can probably monetize through sponsorship, but TikTok in and of itself,
oh yeah, exactly.
doing, and I think there might also be the issue of how young are the users on the platform. Can they advertise to them? I don't know how that works. Do they have money to buy the products that's been advertised to them? So that whole conundrum would be quite interesting to resolve for them. So, I mean, on the issue of all these FANG-led companies, Amazon recently got itself into the self-driving game by purchasing Zoox. And it's interesting that the CEO, Aisha Evans, is actually a female tech CEO and not just that, a black female tech CEO. And, you know, you mentioned earlier, you didn't have a lot of people to look up to that you could relate with, and not just even a woman or black woman thing, but even just guys that you can relate to coming into the industry. So how do you think, I mean, apart from the fact that obviously we've made tremendous progress in the last 5 years, and it's something, you know, that is a constant thing that companies are trying to work towards, but practically speaking, how can we get better at this? Are there things that hinder women from considering tech as a career opportunity? Is it the fact that they don't really just know the impact of what they could do in tech? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I can see, because I started in this tech journey 7 years ago. And back then, there definitely was not a lot of women, or just a lot of women in the forefront that you can see or look up to. So I definitely see right now that it is improving. Like, a lot of people are coming into it now. So I would say that they now know the impact or the benefits or all the possibilities that can happen while in tech. But I feel like back then the issue was, like I said, there's not that many people that you can relate to. And even it started even just from childhood, like in a family, like most times the girls are given dolls while the boys are giving games or computers to learn how to program. So I mean, just that alone already enforces the bias or the stereotype that tech is for boys or men, while women play more subservient or lesser, not really lesser roles, but less tech inclined. So I feel like that alone enforces that bias or stereotype. So moving forward, when it's time for the girls or the boys to go into college, obviously the boys are used to already programming and coding, so they would take those roles or they would apply to those degrees, while the women will go for more so maybe other degrees that are not as technical. And I feel like because of that, right now we can see a lot more males in the industry and a less of females. So that also prevents other people from coming into it, because they want to come into a field where they're properly represented. But if they come into a field and they don't really see a lot of people they can relate to or they can look up to, it also discourages them. So that is the cause of the huge gap right now, and we as women, we have some catching up to do to kind of catch up to our counterparts already. But I feel like definitely, like you said, a lot of progress is being made. So I'm positive that in the next 10 years, the gap would have been almost closed, if not closed already. I'm hopeful that that would be the case. At least I'm hopeful.
I agree with you that this is a long-term thing to resolve, and it does start much earlier. And I think we need to, yes, attack it much earlier and show that coding is not a boy thing. And two, you can build fascinating things with coding. You can solve your own problems, or you can just be creative and show that art and painting are not the only creative outlets. Coding isn't just logic and technical. It's designing things that work for people in the world that we live in, and showing that side of tech much earlier on gives us a much better opportunity of attracting more females as well into the area. So fantastic thoughts there. Completely agree with you on all those things. So any resources that have helped you along your tech journey or just general sort of PhD journey? Obviously doing a PhD is no easy thing, and it'd be interesting to know if someone did want to pursue a path similar to yours, what your advice would be.
Oh, I have a lot of advice. Okay, so an important resource or a useful resource that actually helped me and actually helped strengthen my coding skills was back then when I would have like a coding problem, but I wasn't really sure what direction or how to solve it. I always went on Stack Overflow, so that's a very popular website where a lot of programmers like give their 2 cents and kind of tell you how to solve different problems. So I feel like that was really um, important, or that helped me. Another resource that was useful is when trying to like get internships at these tech companies. I try to do a lot of programming challenges on LeetCode or HackerRank or Career Cup. I feel like those are also pretty useful resources to when trying to advance into your tech career. I also read articles on Medium. I like to read articles. I just also like to read articles on other databases like ACM or the IEE. They have a lot of papers and publications that you can read and kind of expand your mind on what are the current trends in tech and what are the innovations that are being made. What else? I also watched a couple of channels on YouTube as well that help teach how to program, but I would have to go back and find it because it's been like 5 years, I think. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of resources to use while advancing in your tech career. So I feel like those are good ones. And then an advice I would say is just keep improving, because the tech world is constantly evolving and changing, and there are a lot of innovations that are being made every day. So to kind of stop yourself from becoming not really obsolete, but to kind of be at the top of your game, you have to constantly improve. You have to keep up with what is being done, learn whatever languages that is popular, or use whatever technologies that is being used. So I feel like that is an advice, to never become comfortable in tech because you can easily be replaced. So I mean, just constantly work on yourself and try to improve and incorporate everything you've learned into your experience and into your skills. Yeah.
Fantastic. So have you got any plans for the summer? I heard that you're a teaching fellow at your university. What's that been like?
Yeah. So actually this summer I'm working as a teaching fellow at my university, and I'm teaching the software engineering course, which was what I studied in undergrad. So it's right up my alley, really. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and we're at the 5th week, so kind of the midpoint in the course, and so far it's been good. It's also a way for me to relearn what I learned in the past and kind of refresh my memory on things that I had learned before. So I find that it's also a learning experience for me as well. As I'm teaching, I'm kind of like refreshing my own memory and kind of, just gaining more knowledge on the entire software engineering field. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been great talking to you today, Uju.
It's great talking to you too, May.
Lovely. Where can listeners connect with you online, follow your journey, and just, connect, really?
Yeah, so I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn is Obianuju Okafor, and I'm sure May is going to put the link so you can find me. I also have a Medium as well, where I publish articles about my research areas, just different things I'm working on. So I'm sure you post that as well. So yeah, I feel like those are the best places to kind of follow me in my tech journey.
Awesome. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do next year when you complete your...
Thank you. Oh my God. I am just like, next year is go time. I'm just gonna do at it.
Post-COVID world where everything is digitized and transformed.
Yeah, exactly.
seeing that. And it's been great talking to you
Yeah,
today.
it's been great talking to you as well.